Hey, welcome back to Keen Reads. My name is Jared, and I figured I'd just throw together a small video giving you some updates on what's been going on in my life, my reading goals, as well as what I've been reading over the last week. So, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, and the video title, I am going to be moving soon. Hopefully in the next week or two, but it's in the point where I am officially packing up all my books. Because of that, I'm not sure how regularly I'll make videos over the next couple of weeks. Maybe just kind of updates like this, just because I won't have my books handy to show you guys. But hopefully that move will go seamlessly, and I'll have a nice new library set up that I can show you guys in a couple weeks. Second thing that I wanted to talk about is my reading goal. So you may remember from my very first video, I think it was my first video, my reading goal for this year was some big books that I wanted to read this year. I got through, I think, 4 or 5 of them throughout the beginning of the year, up through April. Then I kind of went through a reading slump, read anything that I could to get back into reading, and now I'm kind of on a Shakespeare kick. And this is not uncommon for me. I've kind of abandoned my big goal, or my big books goal, but honestly, I'm perfectly fine with that for the reason that I'm still working towards another goal that I have with running through Shakespeare. So in the background of all of my reading goals and things like that, I do have this master list of books that I want to read in my lifetime. Kind of Jared's own great books, or potentially great books, because I haven't read them yet. All of those books that were in my big book goal are on there, as well as all of Shakespeare is on there. So even though I've kind of switched my goals, I think it's healthy to switch your goals, because as we go throughout the year and go through our lives, our moods change and the things that interest us change. And as long as I'm still reading something that's kind of working towards that greater goal, I'm kind of happy with where I'm at. So probably for the next foreseeable future, until I get bored of it, I'll be reading Shakespeare, whether that is in... probably it will take the form of me reading a book about Shakespeare alongside a play of Shakespeare's. That's kind of the two big topics that I wanted to talk about. So, yes, I did abandon my goal, but I feel fine about it. It's not like I feel like it's a failure or anything. It's just a natural way of life for me when it comes to my reading life. Last thing that I wanted to talk about is just kind of what I've been doing with Shakespeare. So I gave the update video last week of things that I've bought and that I plan on reading about Shakespeare, so I'll just kind of update you on what I've read and how things have been going. I'm pretty happy with my progress of Shakespeare so far. Not necessarily in how much I'm reading, because I still have a long way to go. I imagine that, assuming I maintain my same level of interest, this will go long into 2026 as I kind of work through all of his plays and poems and sonnets. But I think my actual understanding and able to pick up on Shakespeare is getting a lot easier. The thing I struggled with the most is the syntax, so the ordering of the words. I'm pretty sure that's what syntax means. It's not semantics. But anyways, the way that he structures his sentences, his sentence structure is very foreign to me as a modern day reader. But I'm definitely getting more used to it, and it's getting a lot easier to read. As far as definitions go and phrasings, most of that I have companion pieces for. So if I don't know a word, I usually have within reach what that word means, or in the context that he's using it, or if there's a phrase I don't know, kind of an explanation of what that phrase is, are usually in the commentary that I have in the Art in Shakespeare, as well as I have coming in the mail a kind of dictionary of Shakespeare words and phrases and things like that. It's a Shakespeare lexicon, which I'm really excited to get. But overall, from just reading the 2 plays that I've read this time around, so like I said, in the past I've read King Lear, Julius Caesar, Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, and then Hamlet. And now I've since then have read Antony and Cleopatra and Macbeth. And I don't know if Macbeth is just an easier to play to read than Antony and Cleopatra, but Antony and Cleopatra, as I was reading it, was getting easier as I went through, and then Macbeth was pretty easy. I didn't find myself going to the notes very often. I feel like I was picking up on most of the things. Again, I do a significant amount of pre-reading for each play, though, so the plot is not foreign to me. I know what to expect. So it's more along the lines of picking up on his wordplay and things like that. As far as talking about the plays, So I finished Antony and Cleopatra last week. The first 3 acts I thought were kind of meandering, kind of going back and forth between different areas. But I found that the 4th and the 5th acts really hit home when it comes to the emotional impact of the plot. My hair's kind of wild right now. I need a haircut. I also finished Macbeth. Macbeth I loved. I gave it 5 stars out of 5 stars. I felt like its pacing was perfect. It went, I don't know, I just felt like it had perfect pacing, and there was a lot that I took out of the language and things like that. I feel like there was more language throughout that I enjoyed throughout the entire play, whereas with Antony and Cleopatra, there were spots that I really, really liked, but they were kind of just all jam-packed at the end of the play. My dogs are playing in the hallway, so if you just heard a cry, it's okay. Now I'm currently reading King Edward III, which is a play that was Shakespeare collaborated on. I think it's understood that he wrote 3 of the scenes and then kind of edited some of the others. But I've just about through all the pre-reading, so I'll be starting the play probably tomorrow. And then as far as the books that I'm reading alongside this, I told you last time I was reading Shakespeare's Kings, so I have finished this book. Really good book. Would highly recommend it if you want to go into the histories, because a lot of the background that I'm reading about Edward III, I already know from reading this book. So this goes through, let's see if I can list them all. It starts talking about Edward III, but before that there was Edward II, his father. So it kind of starts off with Edward II, I guess. Edward II, then it goes to Edward III, Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, Henry VI, Edward IV, Edward V, and then Richard III. And then it ends with Henry VII. So those are all the kings that it kind of goes through. And now I'm reading Bill Bryson's Shakespeare, The World as Stage, a very slim biography. So in contrast to Will and the World by Stephen Greenblatt, which was kind of a speculative biography, I would call this one more of a true biography in that it tells us what we know hard and fast about Shakespeare, and that's why it's so thin, because there is very little that we actually know. So that's what I'm reading. That's some updates. I'll try to make some videos over the next couple weeks, but we'll see just because of the move. I do appreciate your guys' support, and thanks for continuing to watch. Again, I'm going to put a call out. If anyone here really likes Shakespeare and has any secondary literature or literature about Shakespeare that they really like, please let me know. I'm really kind of trying to read anything that I can about him. Thanks.